NETE.com, and I'm going to go over a trade recap of NETE. Alright guys, so on NETE, those of you who follow me know that I keep 3 charts on my charting software at all time. The daily, the 5, and the 1 minute. Sometimes I'll swap out the 5 for the 15 just for a different view and a different look of the chart, but those are basically the 3 or 4 time frames that I use. Alright, so before we get into the chart, I just want you guys to be aware that when I short a stock, it is a day trade. I don't hold my shorts overnight typically. For one, my day trading account won't allow me to, so I'd have to do it on my cash account. And for two, I don't like to get squeezed, so I like to scalp these stocks. So that being said, you should size your positions accordingly so where you will make profit, but at the same time, if your trade goes south and you start to lose money, you're not risking too much of your account. When I was shorting NETE, I was using 500 share lots, and at one point I actually put in 2 orders of 500 because I felt confident in my short. So by using 500 shares, that'll allow the stock to have a little bit of more room to maybe bounce up and down between a support and resist. When I go in with 1,000 shares, I'm making sure that the stock has already broken down below resistance. My stop is just above that resistance level, which is now becoming our support level for our short, and I'm risking very little, maybe 2 to 3 cents on 1,000 shares, so that way I'm keeping my risk small and my reward high. Alright, so let's look at this chart. This is NETE, and you can see that it is a primarily downward trend. I would call this a short opportunity for anybody who's shorting this stock. I know a few of us have shorted it for a long time. Some people have swing traded this short. But what we do have to be aware of, it's a low float stock, it can move rapidly, and it has the potential to squeeze the shorts and create big runs up. So when we're shorting this, we want to be aware of the ability for it to make multi-day runs. It is capable of it, but we also need to know that when it tops out, it has a good chance of coming back down quite a ways. So basically when we go short these stocks, kind of just want to look at the chart like it's upside down. We want to break through our supports and make them turn into resistance. So the stock topped out right up here around 475. That became our first resistance level. Once I noted this green candle start to press downward, I went ahead and switched over to our 15-minute view just to take a look at it. But what I want to notice first also before we do that is where our next levels of support are going to be, to where the stock's going to come down to, bounce off of, and once it breaks through that support, our support becomes resistance, and that's when we're going to look to take our first short. As you can see in this chart, there's multiple resistance levels. I wanted to be 100% sure on my short, so I think the first one I took was around the $4 mark. You can see here this is a solid support. There was actually a gap fill here, multiple levels of support and resistance here, so once you have a resistance level, we know from history of trading that that resistance level becomes support on the way back down. So what we're looking for is this support resist line to break downward even further. So here's our 5-minute chart with resistance at 475 and support at $4. So what we were looking for was just a breakdown below this $4 after it topped out, and it happened fairly quickly. I saw these moving averages start to run up, and I went short as soon as it went under $4, and I was looking for a little bit bigger move, possibly down to 375. And as soon as I saw this top or this bottom out right here at about 387, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I switched my order and I got out just in time before this squeeze. So I took this short for just 10 cents, got out at about 390, 391. Not a huge gain, but still on 500 shares, 10 cents is 50 bucks. After commission, I'm probably looking at a $40–45 gain. So using this chart, you can see I made a technical error when I was reading this chart. I should have saw the resistance support level right here, 386, and I should have set my fill order right then at 387. So I missed out on a few cent gain, but no big deal. So I want to go over the orders that I use when I take these trades. On this $4 trade, I happen to use a market order. I don't always recommend doing that because sometimes you might fill way lower than you want to, or the stock may never cross below this line. It may just trend right along it and you'll never get filled, or you might fill above this trend line and then it never breaks below it and you're stuck with covering for a flat even trade and then you lose out on your commission. So on a stock like this, when the stock is up and it's coming back down and I don't want to short it until it comes below $4, I want to use a short stop limit order at $3.99, and that'll ensure that I fill at $3.99 or lower. So this is where it gets a little confusing. When you want to use a stop loss on a short order, you don't want to use a buy limit order because that will ensure that you fill at a price you set or lower. So if I enter this short at $3.99 and I set a buy limit order at $4.03 for a stop loss, that is going to close out of your trade instantly. That is going to fill you right then and there because a buy limit order fills you at the price that you set or better, so it will fill you anywhere from 403 or less. So what you want to do is set a buy stop order. So for this particular trade, my buy stop order would be around 405. Alright, and then once we started nearing profit targets, what you want to do is, if you can't have multiple orders or one cancels the other order, what you need to do is cancel your stop order and set your profit order. So the order that I'm going to use to take profits on this order is a buy limit order. This will make sure that if I set my buy limit at 390, even though our resistance or our support is here at 387, I'm going to get filled at 390 or less. Now remember, these buy orders, once they hit that 390 price, they execute as a market order, so you do have a chance of filling a little bit higher, but it's safer than a buy limit order because then it executes at that specific price and you have a chance of not getting filled at all if no shares trade at that level. So just a quick recap on shorting: your stop is a buy stop order and your cover is a buy limit order. So back at the chart, after we covered, you can see once the shorts start to cover, this brings the price up. Buyers come in and push the price up even further. It looked like it might have tried to do a high day breakout. It failed and it came back down. So basically I just used the same exact support level, but this time I wanted to make sure it came back down below these few candles here. So I put my short order in at 395 and I got filled. What I was looking for this time was a break of this 350 mark, and it happened. You got this big candle here, you don't really know where support's going to come in at, so this is a complete level 2 play. Just watching the level 2 chart, seeing when buyers start to come in, see where resistance is. I found this bottom here about 335 and it took me a little bit to place my order. By the time this started bouncing around, I got filled right in here around 340, 345. So once again, another 50-cent short, a quick easy scalp, and then from here it really didn't do much all day. What we were watching for next though is we had this little bottom here, and you have these multiple bottoms here, and then of course you have these bottoms here. So I wanted to be confident in this next short. I had already made a decent amount of profit. It's hard to say exactly how far down this stock is going to go at this point. You can see there's good support here at $3, so I didn't have very much confidence that it was going to go much lower than that. But you can see here that it actually went back down to the next support level, around 279. So I'll just draw these levels out. Every time it breaks one of these support levels, that is a potential short play. The next one I took personally was right here at the bottom of these ones. A little bit of a different play here is I could see that these were topping out at 340. Let me clear this chart so you can see what I was seeing. These candles here are topping out right here around 340, 345, 347. I knew I wanted to use a stop at above 350 off of these bottoms here. That's a good resistance level. I had pretty high confidence that the chart was not going to clear those. So I was basically just trying to get the best fill I could, the highest price, and I ended up getting one at about 340, 342. Not a great fill. I could have waited a little bit longer and got 345 or 347, but just following it down, took that trade. I actually stopped out right around here, 319, at this green candle. I wasn't sure if we were going to see a squeeze before we reached the support, but it would have been a perfect play all the way down to the next support level at $3. So another important chart that I want to show you is the time frame on the 1 minute chart. This is really what I watch closely when I'm scalping. I use the other charts just to map out the support and resistance levels, but this is what I pay close attention to. So just another example at the $4 mark, we had our support, and as soon as it broke down, came back down and tested our next support at 387, and then it rallied back up. So here you can see it's a lot tighter time frame. You can see exactly what is happening every minute. You know, it's a lot easier to take these trades off of this time frame. As you can see, the next time we would have took this trade off the $4 mark, what we would have saw is this perfect bottom off the support at $4, a little bounce, more confirmed support at $4, and then the breakdown. And that's when we would have took the trade. And then of course, you know, you got your stop up here around 405. It never touched it. It tried, but it never made it all the way up, and it just kept breaking down from there. If you're curious what this red line is on my chart, this is the 13 EMA line. It's an exponential moving average. I use this to basically just outline the trade. You can see that typically when it's going down, it tends to follow this EMA line quite well. Some people like the 5 SMA or the 10 SMA or 13 EMA or the 10 EMA. It doesn't matter what you use. I just like having one of them up. That line just gives me a nice guideline of how far the stock is being pushed down, and you know, if I'm wanting to be a little risky and hold it a little bit longer, I'll follow this line until it crosses it. So, you know, my fill, if I was doing this on this trade, I would have went from $4 to about 380, which is pretty much what I did anyways, unknowingly, but if I was following that EMA line, that's exactly what I would have done. I would have waited for it to cross back above the EMA. The final trade I took today was around 293. This is the 5 minute chart. It's really not helping me much here. You can't see too much of what's going on. So this was right off the 1 minute chart. We had a pretty big sell off this morning, and we saw this nice base right here around, you know, 295, and then you had a little bit of a spike down to 291. So I was trying to just kind of meet it in the middle, and I saw this big red candle come up with decent volume. And the next one, I went short right here at 293 as soon as I saw it go below that other previous red candle, and I rode this one down all the way to about 285 is where I filled at. So almost a perfect trade because it only went down to 284. Once again, I was just watching the level 2s on this trade. Basically, when you're watching level 2s, it's hard to explain unless you're watching them live right now, but what I look for is the red tickers to come really fast. They're speeding up, and that creates this high volume, big move down. And then at a certain point, bid support's going to build, you're going to see on the bid side, a 284 block bid for 100,000 shares or something abnormal. And once you see that, you'll get this little bounce, and you want to be out right as soon as you see that big bid, unless you believe that it's going to go right through that bid. But in this case, there was no knowing how low this is going to go, so I just covered as soon as I saw that bid, and it bounced up on me. I got filled, luckily, right at 285. So to wrap this video up, what we're looking for is lower highs on the chart, double tops, signs of resistance, and then signs of the stock wanting to move downward selling pressure on the stock. And once that happens, we're going to draw our support lines, and the stock should respect the support once or twice, test it, then break down below it. And once it starts breaking down supports, that's when we draw the ones below it. And we're going to look for resistance or support depending on how you look at it as a short sell, and just keep buying as it breaks down supports and selling on the next support level. Alright guys, if you have any questions, this is just a basic short strategy for this stock. There's multiple short strategies, just like there is going long. You got to find what works for you. This is what happened to work for me on NETE. It was just scalp plays, scalp plays, scalp plays. The market has been weak the last couple days, and I'm up, I don't even know how much, probably a good 5% on my overall account each day, so not bad at all. But I made this video just because it is hard to alert the scalp plays in time. I try to alert them in chat that I'm going to take NETE short if it breaks below $3, which I did do fairly successful, I think, the other day. But sometimes these move so fast I'm not able to tell you where to exit these trades, and that's a little risky. So hopefully you learned something. If you guys have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Contact me in the chat room, email me, Skype, whatever we need to do. We will figure out how to get a hold of you, and send me your questions.